Margot, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for allowing me to be so persistent. I appreciate you putting up with that. As I say, super excited to chat to you today. I've kind of revered everything you've done for very many years, especially what you've done with inspiring females to go into this kind of, I think you said once, this blokedom world. And that's what I'd love to start with. I listened to a talk you did in, I think it was about 8 years ago, and it's called The Passion, the Probe, and the Problem. And I thought it was really, really good. And I thought,
title.
The Passion, the Probe, and the Problem. I thought it was really good in that you talked about, and there's something I always try and pull up like new ideas I've never heard before. And you talked about there's this big difference between kind of male hospitality and female hospitality, male cooking and female cooking. And I think I may have got this wrong, so please forgive me, but I think you talked almost about there's hunter and gatherer kind of cooking styles. I don't even remember us talking about this, but I'd love to know, like, could you describe the difference between kind of female gatherer cookery and hunter male cookery? I think that could be an interesting place for us to start.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for having me. Let's dive right in. I suppose I was talking about how women can be very instinctive cooks. They are often, in history, women have been traditionally the cooks of the family. And they, if you look at Italian cooking, all sorts of cooking, the women have been the great cooks, haven't they? And we have followed them. And I find that lovely, gentle way that women cook at home is something that I've always tried to bring into the restaurant, which is not so easy. And I think men have traditionally been more of the chefs in a kitchen. And that has a lot to do with, it's a hard job, and women are often at home looking after the men and the children. So men have got more time to go off. But this is all a generalisation, and women have a great place in restaurants, and they cook brilliantly as men do in all different ways. But sometimes, now we have the probe, and we've got all these techniques. I mean, when everyone started putting food into a water bath, I think it was back to that, really. And people are doing that a lot less now. So that talk was quite a while ago that I said that talk, did that talk. It was at MAD. And people were telling us, put everything in a water bath. Mm. And I just don't even like it. I think meat that cooks too slowly is blubbery. And it's this sort of... What are you looking for? Are you looking for texture or just this soft pap? Mm. And it's sad to think that we don't follow the old ways of, when you're told that to confit a duck leg in water is just the same as cooking it in duck fat. I mean, that makes me want to weep. It's so depressing.
How do you think we got to that place where it's almost this...
Adrian.
Yeah. But there's this move towards.
No, he's a genius. I love all that too. Yeah.
But how do you think we got to the place where it was? I interviewed Rick Stein's son, Jack Stein, the other week down in Cornwall, and he was talking about this 1% improvement thing, right? So it's like you constantly try and he was talking about Rick had this vanilla bass dish, I think, which had been in the restaurant for years and years and years. And then obviously he went away, did just sort of filming and stuff. And with getting more and more new chefs in who were trying to make everything slightly 1% better, is that when they actually stood back one day, they're like, oh, we've deviated from what we actually wanted to create in the first place. Mm. And I think there's a kind of a hidden, not danger, but there's a hidden... potentially danger to the 1% better thing, where it's like you keep getting better and better, and before you know it, to create like you could just, as you say, confit a duck in fat versus using a water bath. Like, how do you think we've moved away from kind of potentially some of the I think you said it so beautifully, gentle like hospitality? How have we moved there?
Well, I think that we've been through so many times. I mean, the 70s and 80s, there was incredible cooking, but there was also the dark times where, everything was boned out, and you got a chicken breast and a piece of sliced orange and parsley on your plate. And we forgot about the food that women cooked at home with bones and stocks and just, food of people without so much means. So a simple cooking of old-fashioned cooking of peasants, food of Lancashire even. So you haven't got much time. You've got to put your knuckles and your bones and vegetables in a pot in the stove. You go out, you work all day, and you come home, and that's what you eat. Because but in restaurants, I feel it's magnificent what's happening at the moment. There's such a desire to look at different cultures, to look at the food of what women, what everyone's cooking, and then bring it into a more restaurant way. I was at Paradise last night, and they're cooking Sri Lankan food, but they've refined it. It's quite fancy. But I felt it had the flavours and texture. It was really great. It was exciting. But for me also, I could have much more plain food. But I love it that it was fancy and glamorous, and it's in a small space. And now looking at how they pay their rents and all these things. There's so much that comes into what a dish is going to be, and people nowadays, they like it fancy, and what's one of the favourite lines people always say? Oh, I could do that at home. Well, go and do it.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Oh, do it. Don't come out and complain to me, and do it every day. And what the chefs are doing, they're in the kitchen every day cooking these dishes over and over again, and to sustain that energy and love for what you're doing is difficult as well. And our kitchen's very hot. We don't have.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. So how have you? Because you've been in business. I think people who are I have such admiration for people who are in business for a long time, and you've been doing this for a long time. How have you kept the joy day to day kind of alive? As you said, it's kind of changed so much. It's been up, down, dark days, light days. How have you kind of thread through that like a consistent, keeping the joy alive? And
Well, I love Rochelle Canteen. I used to have a catering business with Melanie Arnold, my partner, as well. And we love that as well, but we don't do that anymore. And it is wonderful not carting things around and just that whole side of the business, working for very demanding people. Fair enough, they're paying a lot of money, but we're really looking at Rochelle now, and we're really excited about it. I think, the season changing, I know that's what everyone says, but, we're so excited about the produce now that's coming in, always trying to work at how we can be better. Our chefs, I'm not the head chef, so I'm always excited about who is the head chef at the time. There's always stuff to be working on, making better. Everything's, it's just the dramas of every day, building your customers, the front of house, all those things. And I love business. I love plotting, trying to work out how we can make this better, even on a tar seal floor with the rain coming in, thinking, oh my God, these poor people. But it's dynamic. It's, we're inspired all the time by new books that come out, reading. Instagram I even find quite inspiring.
Yes,
I quite like
I was speaking to somebody.
I love foodie Instagram.
Oh, it's so good. But I was speaking to a designer the other week on the podcast, and I was like, is it easier to be creative almost before the smartphone because there was less distractions, i.e. like WhatsApp and stuff? It was like, fuck no. Like now I go on Instagram and I can get ideas from literally everywhere at the touch of my thing. We almost take it for granted how...
You have a cooking lesson while you're watching telly.
I know. Well, the worst is when I sometimes watch a cookery programme on TV, but then I'm on my phone watching it. It's like, I need to chill out.
Yeah, I need to. I'm a bit of an addict.
Yeah, I love it. Just once I get into the wormhole, though, I can't.
You can't stop.
I can't stop. But then obviously
it is terrible, and they're also managing us. These people who own it. I mean, when you say, bones, I'm sure I'm going to get a whole lot of something on. But I don't like it how they're organising it and managing it.
Well, that was the other week I was in Lisbon. Lisbon in my mates. I went to work from Lisbon for like 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I love Lisbon.
We
We were there recently.
Yeah, we'll talk about that actually. But a unbelievable city, so good, so cheap as well. It's mad, £6 for an Uber from the airport. But
and beautiful food.
Oh, the food's insane. But to your point, is they were talking about. I went into my mate's. Didn't even talk about it into my mate's bathroom, and one of the sprays they had in there came up on my Instagram feed. I was like, we hadn't even talked about it. Do you know what I mean? I was going like, is there something in the Lisbon air here?
That's scary.
It's absolutely mad. Yeah. But talk to me about Lisbon because I've been there. I was actually thinking of potentially living out there just because it's so. There's loads of freelancers there basically. But talk to me about your time there. Like what?
We just went out for anyway, I'm so bad.
I can't pronounce anything. Don't worry.
Anyway, it's a brilliant restaurant out there. They only do pig and small. I mean, one of my favourite things they did was a roast potato with fermented with a pork stock, which they'd reduced down, but not till it was jam. So it was, it was gentle, and then they had a fermented pepper sort of liquor going through it as well. And it was, you can't get simpler than that, and it was beautiful. But they asked Fergus and I out for pig culling, and we saw this lovely 10-kilo pig who'd been living on this lovely farm. She was slaughtered very beautifully, I must say, under a tree on the grass. And then the butcher, he gutted her, and we then ate. Not her, but because they needed to hang it. But all these chefs came together. We made faggots, of course. And they were very, very awfully. And then this little girl came up and said, "Oh, can I have one of your faggots?" And I was like, "No, you won't like this," because they're quite awfully. She ate it in 5 seconds. I tell you, the Portuguese love their offal. We had blood soup, which I have to say, maybe I needed to work on a field that day. You needed a fork to eat it with. It was so rich. I had.
In fact, if I push that.
That's right.
Paul, sorry, my fault. Yeah, towards you. Yeah, bang, perfect. That's crazy. So were you? Because was Hector out there? Your son was he out there with you?
Yeah.
And was it like just loads of chefs came together for this one old restaurant?
We're all cooking in this incredible farm. It's quite, they leave lots of it to wilding, I suppose you'd say. I don't know the actual technique. It started raining when we were going to do the tour. But they have very few animals, as little as they can. They kill few now. I mean, it's very nice if you can afford that, isn't it? I mean, a lot of farmers wouldn't be able to afford that. But still, it's a beautiful thing. And they have this huge room, big hall, where they do a lot of dinners and ask guest chefs and things. The whole environment was amazing. And a lot of winemakers came. And I do think Portuguese wine is where it's so delicious, and it's really happening. And it's now we're looking to places like Portugal where we're saying, look at their food, look how exciting it is. And it's not just this layer, it's like, let's look at it deeply and understand their culture through the food, through what the women even cook. That's coming into the restaurants. It's not some idea of... they've got fine dining, but it's Portuguese, and it makes sense, doesn't it? It's not just French, though I love French food. And all that sail with her, and I am worried for France, because I think they're losing their food culture.
There's so much to pull out. So I think it was in Bourdain. We'll talk about Bourdain at one point as well. He was a huge inspiration for me, but I think it's whether he either goes to Porto or Lisbon, and this is like 10 years ago now, and he goes, why is Portugal not... And I think it's definitely moved there since that episode. It's like, why is Portugal not on the same stratosphere as France, as Spain? And he goes, there's a long way to go to get there. I think it's definitely getting there. What did you, when you think And we'll get on to why France is potentially, I know you love it, but it's losing is kind of je ne sais quoi, as they say. But like, what? Firstly, going into the roots and the deep cultures of Portugal, like how do you kind of, not you specifically, but how do we go in there, and how does that culture and that food begin to become more, not ubiquitous, but more known? Do you know what I mean? Because I can't think of many Portuguese restaurants in London unless you go to near Stockwell. Do you know what I mean?
That's where I live, in Stockholm.
So you by Little Portugal?
We are right there. Okay. And I have to say, there's a brilliant fish shop there, actually, and they have a restaurant out the back, but they won't let me in.
Really?
I'm like, but I'm a chef.
Why won't they let you in? That's a joke.
I think because I'm not Portuguese.
Ah, okay.
I think they keep, but they on a Saturday, they get a massive tuna in. They also get an incredible fish. I don't know if it's that right on to eat it, but it's like an eel. It's black covered, and it's a very deep sea fish. And they get that in there, and they chop it all up into pieces. They say it's one of their biggest delicacies. I've never heard of it or seen it. I mean, that's just, we touch on cultures so lightly, don't we? And there's so much that it's not. I mean, I love a sardine, but there's so much more than the sardine and the custard tart, I think, in Portuguese eating. And the more it's celebrated by the people of the country, which is happening in Lisbon, there's all sorts of great things going on. One of our chefs, he's out there cooking away. But they're bringing, so they're bringing it to the tourists, then we know about it, and then more happens. And I think that's exciting in our industry to be celebrating all of this.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Honestly, means the absolute world to me. I'd be so grateful for a small favour, please. It is so hard growing a YouTube channel. It is so bloody hard. If you please enjoy these videos, just click the subscribe button. More subscribers equals bigger guests equals better conversations, and hopefully you can learn more as you build your food and drink brand. Thank you so much. Then also, I think the point about you saying of if one of your chefs goes and then a chef from another restaurant in London goes, then they begin to get these ideas and it comes back and they begin to kind of infiltrate these pockets. It's like this, I can't remember who I was speaking to. It's like these little nudging things that happen. Oh, but you do it over a long enough time, and suddenly, as it is kind of happening now, from that episode with Bourdain 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was, to now, it's like way more.
Yeah. I think also we're all quite slow, and it's probably been happening deeply, but we just didn't pick up on it.
So where else did you go in? Did you go anywhere else in Lisbon? Were you just on the farm then?
We were just on the farm. Yeah. But I have been to Lisbon, it was a while ago, and I can't remember any of the restaurants' names, but I could...
I was trying to say something to you, I think all escaped me.
I find Portuguese quite tricky. Yeah. The actual language is so complex.
It sounds more, like, when you hear it, it sounds more kind of Eastern European. Like, the sound of the accent is less...
We went to one of the brilliant seafood places, but I love it how they pile the plates up, and as you make your mess, they take them away. So it's not like you're putting it in there till it's a massive pile. They keep clearing.
And also they just keep bringing you the bread with the butter. I don't know if you get the fresh bread rolls and the butter.
And also a custard tart there is a different thing.
It really is.
I mean, it's really not the same, is it?
There's one place I have actually remembered is called Belém, Belem, which is I think a bit further out the city, near where my mate was, and those custard tarts were like...
Yeah, we went to the place where they originally say that the custard tart was invented.
Oh, yeah.
A cafe right down by the sea, and it was enormous. Hundreds of people in there.
Yeah.
But it's got great style. Naturally, there's a great beauty and simplicity to the whole city, or to the... It's amazing. It's exciting. And we can afford it.
I mean, yeah. I got back to London and it was 77 quid to get a cab and Uber.
But they're saying the tourists are ruining the city. The people who live there, they are a bit tired of the tourists.
Because also there's my friend lives in Cascais, which is like the beach town nearby, and he was saying that and even I saw this on the flight over there, there's like 4 stag do's. It's like a stag city. It's becoming like that. And I'm thinking you'd be so fucked off if that was
Yeah, I'd be pouring paint over their heads.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out!
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, mate. Yeah. There was a guy wearing a...
That's what, and they were doing in Spain. They were pouring, in Barcelona, they would pour paint over tourists.
Yeah, but I rate that. I like that defensive culture.
Get out of town.
What, so talk to me about, like, France and... because I'm interviewing a guy next week called Henry Dimbleby, who did
I know Henry.
really, amazing guy. And he actually said, I think it was in his, no, it wasn't his book, it was on a podcast. I was literally listening to this morning. He was like, I believe London has kind of supplanted France right now, like not historically, but in terms of the restaurants and the quality of food. He thinks kind of, his exact words were, France rested on their laurels. What would you kind of alluded, Margot, earlier to France not being what it was. Let's try and kind of unpack that.
I blame Michelin star.
Really?
Yep. I think Michelin star has a lot to answer for, and setting out, first of all, to get your stars, you have to do certain things. So you need your mousse bouche, and you need, years ago, you needed carpet in the loo. I mean, really?
Yeah.
And, and I mean, who are these people to put these rules down? And then so everyone's trying to build to get the star, because if you haven't got a star, who are you? And so all the lovely local restaurants in the countryside, like the places where Elizabeth David would have gone, you stumbled upon, she talks about an omelette and a glass of wine, they have disappeared. I think it's also to do with the hard work in restaurants and what you get out of it. So there's that sort of thing involved in it as well. And now in the countryside, this is not so much in Paris, because Paris there is actually a lot going on, and it's a lot to do with the Asian kids who grew up in Paris with parents running little restaurants. So there is culturally a lot of really exciting things happening in Paris. But in the countryside, it seems that it's either a big chateau, and there are also places we went to stay in the most beautiful town. There was pizzas which were bought in, or bags of food that they buy in from great big huge factories. It's all, and then you put it in your sous vide and you heat up some stew. They're not even making the food. I think probably at home the French are eating well, the markets are good, so they're shopping well. Yeah. They've got amazing produce, they know what they're doing, but they're losing, they don't, if they're not careful, they will lose their own. They need to let more simple cooking happen. I mean, where would you go and have cassoulet in France now? I mean, in winter. I mean, some of the older restaurants, I mean, there are places, of course, but it's not as easy to find. I mean, when you go to Italy, you stumble across a pretty good restaurant quite easily, whereas France, I think it's much more difficult. That is what I'm trying to say. And now in Britain, you can sometimes stumble across pubs all over the countryside. That we're trying to build that here now, I think.
I think this, you kind of teed me up perfectly, Margot, because I want to go back to the 90s and talk about you and Fergus meeting and like the kind of the genesis of nose to kind of tail cookery. Because obviously now it's, kind of everyone's doing a similar version of that. But back then you guys were complete kind of pioneers with what you were doing. And I interviewed a guy a guy called Jeremy Torres who did Union Coffee. And he brought coffee to the UK. Yeah. And I was like, I want to almost go back to the 1990s, mate, and kind of paint the picture of what London and actually the UK was like. He was like, if you wanted a coffee back then, you'd have to go to either a hotel or like an Italian restaurant. And then he kind of came into the UK, Seattle Coffee Company. Then that led to Starbucks, and it begins. It was kind of similar time to you guys. I'd love to know if you could paint a picture or...
Illy might say they were around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the best coffee, but Illy has been around a while.
Yeah. Illy has been around a while. And I think let me caveat that. He was saying craft kind of... craft coffee movement. Yeah. What was the restaurant, if we were to walk down, I don't know, say where we are, maybe not Shoreditch, but like... through Soho, what was the feeling of like trying to pick a good restaurant when you guys...
Brilliant. It was the best. I think, Soho's quite a good example, actually, because, well, you had Alistair Little, you had, there were quite a few small restaurants in the 90s. You make it sound like it was hundreds of years ago. Actually, I mean, there are more restaurants in Soho now, but there are no butchers anymore. There are no fish shops anymore in Soho. Patisserie Valerie was the most beautiful place you could imagine. And the waitresses had been there forever, and there was vinyl tables, and they'd have bowls of croissants, the best croissants. I mean, look at it now. Because of rollout and money and chains, there has been a death as well of a lot of vibrant small businesses. But, there was also the Italian, the crazy Italian restaurants. My father-in-law absolutely loved them, and a lot of people had their favourite Italian restaurant. The waiters were a bit bored and tired, but if you tip them well, they were your best friends. The food was a bit like, oh, well, they're English, they don't know. I'm sure they were all eating the best Italian food at home, but the food was it was average. But there was but everyone's in white jackets. It looks good. There's a style that is good. I mean, we had places like the Ivy, the Caprice, so that's very strong. Jeremy and Chris had really built that what is it? It's sort of glamorous. The whole of North London's coming down to the Caprice every day. There was good stuff going on. 192 in Notting Hill. There were restaurants like that, but I feel that the chefs, the cooking has got better, And now Soho has changed a lot, and we're not having. I mean, there was good things, but a lot of crap. There was a lot of shit.
So what would you talk about? Because obviously,
I don't want to just slam it all. No. But, you would have gone to that fish restaurant in, it was in Old Compton Street, famous one. And, I mean, you would have eaten not well. It wouldn't have been good. We wouldn't go there. There was white sauces being poured over beautiful fish. Fish would be frozen. The bucket of flat leaf parsley, that was the sprig that you were going to put on at the side of everything. So everything was boned out. I think nowadays people would like a bit of boned out fish. They're sick of getting their fish on the bone. Yeah. I think there was something we're turning it back to a bit, but I think there was also a sort of naffness to food. It was a bit naff.
That's what I'm trying to get to, because the perception around. I remember everyone around the world would say, "Oh, don't go to the UK for food." Like it's.
Yeah, but it was, that people will still say that roast beef.
Yeah.
You say you're a chef in England, they say, "Oh, what do you cook? Roast beef?" You say, "Well, occasionally, yeah." There is a perception still that British food. I mean, London is now so varied and exciting that it's come up, and Mr. Dimbleby is right. But I think our food, it's about our food culture as well here. What is British culture? What is our food culture? And it is what Fergus brought. Fergus changed a lot, and it was really good timing. We were ready for a change. Chefs were sick to death of jus. I mean, I tell you what, the jus, that's all I knew. I knew how to make a jus, the sticky, massive stuff, and I'm very good at that action. Whether it's a chicken breast, a piece of rabbit, a calf's liver, you put the same jus over everything. We weren't thinking. We were going down one. We weren't thinking enough about actually what we're doing. And Fergus, I think, being untrained, trained as an architect, he had a fresh eye. I mean, I'm not traditionally trained, but, I think sometimes all that training that people did in French in hotels and things like that made a sort of a culture that was sort of going down one way. And now, and then he had a style. So Fergus brought a style and an ethos which came from his own. He's an artist, so it came from his architecture. It came from where he'd eaten. He loves the classic, but he also saw beauty in just the simple cooking. And when he said, I know you probably heard it, but I was about to bone out the quails and stuff them, because that's all I'd thought of doing. He said, no, we're going to roast them whole, or we're going to cook a ham slowly, and thinking about traditional British ways, which is a beautiful thing, the food of the north of England, that sort of style, and eating the whole animal. So that all came in. Not that we weren't eating calf's liver, and we did have offal back then, brains, and people had them even in their families back then. In some ways, I think we eat less offal now, just at home. But so that changed, and it was the right timing. And the book was it changed the way that people thought. It was a dynamic moment in thinking, oh, we don't just have to do that. We can look at our own cultures and get that out. So I think that has been an inspiration to a lot of people.
What you said about it's almost you're going down this one route with this kind of traditional training, which was we're going, as you say, just kind of sick of making another juice or putting Jew over everything. Yeah. And you almost need a completely fresh perspective. So Fergus being kind of architect, and then that allowed you just to see things differently. And as you said, the book kind of was the seminal moment and the seminal book where it kind of did change the trajectory of things. I read somewhere that there was a kind of a bit of pushback initially. I don't know, this could be wrong, as my research, in terms of people it took a while for them to get their heads round what you guys were trying to do. Like, talk to me about
when St John opened.
About that. Talk to me about that.
It was more about when St John opened, this big white building, which is everything Fergus had ever. It is his complete vision of what a restaurant should look like, is St John, and all the journalists are writing awfully good. And it was a very hot year, and they had no aircon. I was like, Fergus, just put some pasta on, put a pasta dish on, get some people in there. And he stuck to his guns, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And he said, it will be okay. We just have to sit this out. And it literally, a year and a half, restaurants they do now, but they can happen in a moment. But, it takes time for people to understand something like that. And it was a slow build, but then it happened. And it's been it was very busy in the beginning because all the friends and family and all that. And then it sort of dipped, and it was quite scary. We were all about like,
Yeah.
But I think it was a struggle for... The offal thing was, people were freaking out about that. But there's fish, and, great fish. There's also, but that's what journalists wanted to write about, because that's a different thing. They always want,
They wanted, I suppose they want, whether it's good or bad or ugly, they want something to write about that's going to get them clicks nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I read somewhere, and again, you said Fergus, he is no longer the outspoken gunslinging chef who shook London cooking from its fine dining obsessions. He said Fergus has been the most opinionated person you'd ever meet. And he said he felt he had something to say. And I'd love to know, I love people who are staunch on their opinions and back them, a bit like what you're saying about putting the aircon in or doing a pasta dish. What do you think are some other opinions both you guys held that kind of most people would have disagreed with you back then, and that's forged this? I'm trying to get to how we went through this period of thinking differently than actually sticking to that, because a lot of people would potentially not stick to their guns, and I think people should stick to their guns.
But his menu is pretty hardcore. Hard to the line to start the way it looks. Look how many restaurants do that now. The simplicity of how it's written. He never says with. There's always, it's like mentions three things and there's an and. There's no word with. He never names it's Herefordshire. He might say the type of meat, but he'll never be saying it's Linley Farm vegetables, blah, 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 because as it should, this is the stance. Yeah. It should be good. He's never put salmon on the menu, or ever, because it's farmed. He's never used farm fish ever, but never talks about it. no pictures on the wall. So that's shocking for people, but people are the sort of decoration, the music is the voices, the build-up. That's all part of the theatre of the restaurant. So when you arrive at 12, it's quiet. It's just the finishing touches of the waiters doing their things. And then there's the build-up and the excitement as guests arrive. Lunch happens. If Fergus orders half a bottle of champagne, the whole room's having half a bottle of champagne. I like that part.
Yeah.
And it's about the simplicity, but there's great beauty in that as well. And letting the customers interact as much as, if you had music or paintings, the customers are very much part of all that as well.
Yeah, there's a kind of a brutal beauty in the simplicity of the whole thing.
But the uniforms, when we were at the French house, I argued against having uniforms, and he stuck to his gun. So the jackets that they wear at St. John, we had them at the French, and he was adamant. I said, it's a bit stiff.
So what were you pushing for?
Like, I don't know, T-shirts.
Yeah.
Something a bit crap.
Yeah.
But the jackets made it, and it was so brilliant, this tiny little place, and everyone had their uniforms. And that that classic restaurant feel is very much part. Also, just the custom, cooking with fish on the bone, meat on the bone, that was all, that was different and had its strength to it too.
I read somewhere that I think you said Fergus is the artist and I'm the crafts person. I don't know if you remember, I've gone back deep into the kind of into the research weeds, but I think it's interesting because we've talked about kind of Fergus as the artist, the architect, with St. John being incredibly stubborn, rightly so, with the vision, the brutal beauty of simplicity. I'd love to, so maybe let's say that's the artist. I'd love to explore, Margot, with you, like the difference with the craftsperson and kind of how you've made your own mark differently with Rochelle in this wonderful restaurant.
I mean, I suppose an artist is always giving you the meaning why. And I never know what the meaning why is. That's why I married him.
Yeah. He can do the art. He can do the art. Yeah.
He can do that. I like, a craft is more, we're talking about skill, not that Fergus doesn't have skill, but, sometimes people say chefs are artists. I mean, I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes they can be if they have a big idea, but I'm about the craft, just of a restaurant. I love the ins and outs of I'm obsessed with restaurants. I love them. I always have done. It's the gathering of all those things, the staff, the food, the produce, the guests all coming together. I like all the ins and outs of the business, side of it.
What do you like about the business side of it?
Just not so much the actual XLS sheets.
Oh, fuck. I don't know, I get so confused with those things.
The plotting, the planning, how are we going to make this work? Are we going to be full? And if we're not, what is the problem? What do we need to do? Energizing it for the staff, making them, because it's all about the staff really, and whether they're enjoying their jobs, how active are they? Because if they're responding well to it, well then the customers will respond well.
How do you make it? Again, that's. I think a lot of people listen. We have a lot of people who listen to this who own restaurants or food brands, and and I think what you said there, Margot, about being all about the staff. Like, how do you actually do that? How do you make people when they come here to this part of Shoreditch feel something, and then that transfers to the.
Well, I let my chefs do almost anything they want. No. It has to have a sense of what Rochelle is.
Right.
So, you can't go off piece, but there is a sort of quite a wide area to cook in, to be yourself in, but put your own ideas in. For people to have their own ideas is great.
Is there an example of that where it's like what?
So a menu changes every day. The chefs are writing the menu. I mean, obviously it repeats itself, and there's a flow to it. I mean, how much different green sauces can one restaurant do? I mean, it's sort of. I like it that it's not exacting. I always think, oh my God, we should be more exacting. We should be more this. But I like that sort of, it's a neighbourhood restaurant that people come from far and wide to. But there's also, we have a beautiful garden. It's a lovely place to come to work. We are good to our staff. We hope they have a love of food. They eat well here. We give them good perks. I mean, it's just about trying to be a family and understanding everyone's lives as well, isn't it?
I love that, understanding everyone's lives. I have just discovered a secret weapon. Please, please, please don't tell anyone. This secret weapon helps you get listed, stay listed, and most importantly, grow. This secret weapon is being used by absolutely banging brands like Bold Bean Co., Perfect Head, Neat, Trip, and Cheeky Panda. No wonder they're absolutely smashing it. But look, are you ready to get your mitts on this secret weapon and absolutely smash it too? I am thrilled, so thrilled to announce our brand new podcast partner, North Star. What is North Star, I hear you thinking? North Star is a monthly subscription to an online platform giving you access to category data, category insights, anytime, any place, anywhere. It's basically the Netflix for challenger brands. It levels the playing field. Why do you need category data? Well, the first thing is making your pitch speak the buyers and retailers language is so important. It's going to help you unlock more listings, unlock deeper distribution with existing clients, back the right NPD and actually understand how your competition is performing. But the even better news, are you ready to rock and roll at your next range review? You no longer need to hire a full-time category manager. Instead, just parachute in North Star when your next Waitrose, Sainsbury's or Tesco range reviews coming up. They're your outsourced in-house partner. Save money. Their team will come in. They'll help you prep, plan and smash your next range review. I'm so excited to be partnering with North Star. Check them out in the episode description below. Delighted to announce the extension of our partnership with the wonderful Billy and Paul from Mackenzie Jones, but even more exciting, they have just launched a brand new brand as part of Mackenzie Jones called MKJ Ignite. MKJ Ignite is a recruitment firm which specialises full shebang focus entirely on challenge brand space. They work with some incredible brands, Lucky Saint, Goodrays, Purdy and Fig, Hunter and Gather and Real Superfoods. They can support with your hiring needs across all levels, top to bottom, junior entry-level jobs, all the way through up to MD and CEO level. So if you're looking for a field sales stomper, a sales wizard, an ops guru, a supply chain sensei, you name it, MKJ Ignite can help you out. And look, if you're looking to wet your whistle, ignite your curiosity, then check out the poddy we recorded with them back in July. Laden with wisdom, all about like do's and don'ts of hiring and like how to create the perfect job description. You will love it. Lives. That's again simple. What you've said there is so simple but so profound, because it's like when you can understand what someone's feeling and going through, there's just kind of this beautiful empathy runs through it. And actually, we were talking about kind of the right at the beginning, the kind of hunter cookery versus gatherer cookery or restaurants. Is what if there's a light kind of someone wrote this like feminine touch when you're here, and I think it is that kind of what you've said there, that understanding everyone's lives, and there's kind of an empathy is the word. I felt empathy is the word. I don't know if you can put that in a plate of food. I don't know if you can. Maybe that's me being the wanky artist here, but like there does feel that kind of.
The food's a bit rough. I mean, the chefs are not as rough as me. I'm quite a rough sort of chef, and I don't want it to look too exacting, but then at the same time, that's quite hard to teach sometimes, because you say, oh, you've been too precise there. I don't know. I mean, they can be really, and that's a bit up your bum to me. And I want it to be more like, ooh. Yes. And that's very difficult. Suddenly they're putting great big blobs on there. It's really heavy. Like, no, I didn't say that. How you get what is in here to there. Fergus always says, tell them the reason why. But I try that. I mean, we're constantly in a restaurant. It's about small details that you're repeating all the time and you've been doing for years, and it can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's all about cleaning, really. I mean, we just got to keep on cleaning. But at the same time, we have these joyous moments where we cook lovely food and we have great produce coming in, and that's happening. That's an exciting thing that's happening in Britain now. We're getting meat straight from farms. Rather than middlemen so much now. We're getting fish from day boats that are coming directly to restaurants instead of going to I don't want the big markets to go because they're a sort of beautiful thing as well. But there is a lot more of direct going on. Like we get vegetables from wonderful farms like Linley. And, that's a very exciting thing. On a Wednesday, we have the most massive vegetable delivery you've ever seen. And vegetables in this country have been a bit boring, and they pick they dig the potatoes and they put them in a cold store for a year and then we get them. And it's like, come on, can we get something a bit younger and fresher? I mean, obviously the French understand that. They love a young vegetable. But we've taken longer. I think we were going for weight. It's all that. And now, but it's expensive.
I think what you've said there is that I love the kind of the subtle art of imperfection in terms of what pulls you to. Fergus said, "Tell them why." Like, tell them really the reason why. Like, what is the reason why you kind of like this? As I think you went like that. What is that?
I think just aesthetically, I like the look of it. I love precise food as well, but it's not I think it's about personality as well, and your personality definitely comes out in your food. I'm not going to be, I had to cook with skinny Italian chef, 3 Michelin stars once, and we were doing his salad, and I had to put 3 of this herb into that leaf, 3 of that, and 4, 5, and then kind of turned out to do like 5 of them. But with the tweezers, I used the tweezers. I mean, he is incredible, but it's just not in my personality. And I suppose, and we can't all be the same, can we?
Yeah.
Oh no, we all want to be different, and a lot of people don't want to cook like we cook. But I think there's a lot we all get from each other. So sometimes we're looking at the more precise fine dining and trying to take some of that into our world. Not that you probably notice it, but we're looking at everything, and everyone is, I think people are responding to.
I think empathy. When we talk about empathy is understanding people's. I'm probably giving the wanky wine reason here, but from what I understood in terms of when I came here with my friends, and now I'm being forgetful of what we had. We had the Sutton Woo pie, which was delicious. We had I think it might have been a panko crusted. It's escaped me. The food was delicious. Yeah. Cookie dough chocolate ice cream. It was just all simple, so simple. But I was like, well, empathy is understanding people's imperfections, and I think. And there's a feeling of empathy when I come here, and then the imperfections on the plate are kind of like, well, that's kind of life. Do you know what I mean? It's not maybe Instagram makes everyone feel like their life is tweezer poked and it all looks like a perfect velouté of life.
You want it to be delicious,
yeah.
And also, I think there's different ways we like to eat. Sometimes, we want to eat at the Clove Club, but that might not be very often. Well, we'd like to, but we can't afford it.
Yeah.
We want to, sometimes we just want to go out for a meal and have delicious food that's simply cooked and be more about, with our friends. And, a restaurant to me is the food. I mean, can a waiter save a meal, or can a chef save a meal, or what? Say it's all going down. I think a waiter can save a meal. Front of house. It's amazing the power of front of house. It's obviously not if you're paying £300 for a meal. Then you want it all. You want the whole thing.
You want the full shebang.
I love the full shebang. I like waiters all around me, all that sort of thing. It's a theatre. It's I've been to Noma. It's like going to the opera, and it's a different thing, and the way they pace it, and they've thought about every detail. But this is this is a very different way of cooking and eating, and the menu's changing and flowing. It's all, yeah. And imperfection is one of the things that we like to express with love.
Yeah. Well, I kind of have the same approach with this podcast as people say. I very rarely edit it unless someone says something they want out. Because some podcasts are like, you end up sounding like a fucking robot like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I want, life is the kind of the imperfection that speaks to me deeply. In terms of, so what I find interesting, so you've got Fergus here, kind of artist, staunchly kind of on his beliefs. Margot, kind of imperfection, empathy, gentle cookery, craftsmanship, crafts.
Fergus taught me the gentle cooking.
Okay.
He taught me that.
Okay, yeah.
He got rid of the jus.
So how are you guys?
He taught me lots because I didn't really know what I've just cooked in lots of restaurants and followed chefs. And was starting, I knew that I wanted to cook simply. I knew that, and I was really...
What made you know that? Like, was that just...
I just think instinctively, I got my first head chef job, and I was writing the menu, and I was looking to Elizabeth David, Simon Hopkinson. Simon Hopkinson was my completely, I was in love with him. I still am. He's the best. And then I went and worked for Charles Fontaine, and he was doing... it just felt at that time, he had this dish on which was sliced tomatoes in a row with anchovies going down it with a vinaigrette poured over it. It just seemed like so simple. And Fergus had done pigeon and peas, and I was like, oh my God, I'd gone to a pop-up. We didn't call them pop-ups then, but he did this pop-up and he did pigeon and peas, and I just thought that was outrageously exciting because it was so simple. But he... we still going?
Yeah, I'm just checking.
I can't remember what we were talking about. God,
the simplicity.
Yeah. But he taught me that as well. We came together. I was 27 years old. It was very exciting. We got each other. We were cooking a Japanese meal together at home, and everyone was going to make their own sort of wraps. And we could have bought one packet of nori, but we bought 6. I thought, I love this guy. I just knew it then.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do, but I was always nervous because everyone was like, oh, that's too much.
Yeah.
But we bought, and we both knew that we thought 6 was perfect.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we would use it all or not, but we wanted that feeling of generosity, and then we spent years having people to our restaurants and our home for meals. So we have cooked together so much, and I am his biggest fan, and I think he's a fan of mine.
I love.
So it's a coming together, and we both bring a lot of each other, of ourselves to each other.
And then, so this gentle kind of generosity is how you're similar. How would you say you're different? Because you both forged different paths. And then where I want to go next is we'll talk about Hector and what the influences he's picked from each.
Fergus is much more strict. I'm from New Zealand. I can have a bit of this and a bit of that.
Yeah.
What is New Zealand food culture? It's coming now. But, we don't really come from anything. We've got hokey pokey ice cream.
What's hokey pokey ice cream?
It's vanilla ice cream with, honeycomb in it. You'd call it honeycomb.
Okay,
You'd call it hokey pokey. But it's like, it's on every ice cream parlour, you get hokey pokey ice cream.
Yeah.
It's not just in fancy restaurants.
Yeah.
And that probably came from Scotland. And, all our food comes, and there's Maori food, but that was the hangi. You can't...
What?
You can't cook a hangi. But now, through amazing fine dining chefs, like Ben Shuri and people like him, he's in Melbourne, they've brought some of the great food culture, that great culture of Maori food onto a fine dining plate. And he's done things like that. He's very much about Aboriginal food. So, that is all going. But I am more a sap, I suppose. I'll take it. I'll take all sorts of cultures.
Oh, but there's a quote, I don't know who said it to me, it's like all great artists steal, and David Bowie's got a quote which is, this is it, the only art I'll ever study is the art I can steal off. Yeah. And, he's the most pioneering.
Yeah, I'm a thief, but then you have to make it your own.
Yes.
You have to try and make it your own. So it looks like
Is there an example of that? Because that's what I think originality is. I don't think anything's truly original. I think you're basically being like this is what Laura said to me. Laura and Chris from Caravan said to me, we're like a magpie. So we go to a restaurant. We'll take. My friend works for them on the kind of the grocery retail side. My friend Jess. She was like, we'll literally go to Manchester, and we will look at what this. It will be like a magpie and take little bits of these different restaurants, and then we'll come back and we'll sit down and say, how do we want to do this at Caravan? Is there an example of
Fergus wouldn't do that.
Okay, interesting.
He wouldn't do that.
Where does he get his ideas from then?
He from his family, from himself, from his history, from him. Whereas I'm a bit more of a magpie.
Yeah. No, I
think Fergus. I mean, he's always thinking about food and what it is that he loves, and he really responds to other people's cooking and loves it. But it's not like he would. That's what is so brilliant about St. John. It's so sure.
So timeless as well.
It's so sure of itself and what it is, whereas sometimes I can be all over the place.
No, but it's beautiful. There's no right or wrong in any of this. Yeah. But I think there's a real lovely feeling of empathy when you come here, and kind of the imperfection. I have a lot of imperfections and a bit of a few things that when I come here, it kind of feels like everything's going to be sweet,
nice and relaxed.
Also, I think the fact it's in this. The fact you've got it, it's this garden or courtyard. I think the fact you've got to press the buzzer, there's a genius magic to that. What was the why behind that? I know.
Well, we can't open the door.
Okay.
It just is. It's not like some plan.
Yeah.
It just is. I mean, people say, so how did you come to this? It's just, the whole restaurant has evolved. Melanie and I opened, James, who owns the building, said, do you want to open a restaurant here? We said, yes. Then we found a table in the building, we put that there. There was Giles Deacon was making clothes here, so he came in that day. And then the doorbell started buzzing.
Yes, but I think to that point, it's something that it does feel like, even today when I pressed it, I've got a podcast today, but like it feels like there's something.
But we had catering as well.
Yes.
So we did two things. Multitasking.
Yeah.
I'm always into the multitask. If you're going to be slow, I've always thought if we're slow, we can just sell duck leg and carrots.
Yeah.
You need to be thinking of different things. Am I going to put something in a jar? Or, we can't sit on our laurels and think, oh, we're just going to be slow.
Yeah.
But so we had two. But now we have one. We're not multitasking so much.
That's interesting. We're going to get onto that because I'm loving understanding the way both this whole thing kind of operates, and this is kind of Zuzu is just perfect. But then you said Fergus gets his ideas, because I always like discovering new things when I do these conversations, and one of the common themes is this magpie effect. I've never really heard it if someone goes, they actually look back in their history, is I think what you said, Margot. Well, where do you think he gets, what is his history?
When he was an architect, he started an architecture movement called archiculture with his partner and Jack Burnett Stewart, and it was all his drawings for architecture were about eating halls. One was a whale with a great eating hall in it. One was, they went for Hastings Pier to do the pier that came second, but you had to take your shoes off and walk down the wooden floor. I mean, it's almost like something you would find now and then. There'd be a sushi bar at the end, but it was all about food, and he was definitely, but it was a food that his mother had cooked, so she was from Lancashire.
Whereabouts in Lancashire? Like
Bolton.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She's from Bolton, and but really good food. But that was a time where they had Marcella Hazan had just brought Italian food to Britain, so they had great cookbooks then, and they were reading them. Not like now. Are we reading
now
anything?
Now they're just for like a display thing, aren't they?
Now we've just got this.
Yeah.
But they were reading books and getting their food culture from books, and there was a great food culture in Britain, in middle-class people's homes. They were learning about pasta and olive oil. I mean, one of the first dinners I cooked at Fergus's parents' house, It was for about 40 people. And we started with brandard, salt cod, and toast. And everyone had that as a starter. And, we had artichoke vinaigrette. Everyone had an artichoke. Piles and piles of leaves. And then we had the brandard. And then I think a dessert. But that was it. I thought, God, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
Whoa. I mean, that's quite simple. And they had tripe and things. I mean, but they'd gone to Paris, they'd travelled a lot. His parents are architects. Architects, I think, are the best eaters.
Oh, go on, tell me about that. That's
They're always hungry.
Yeah.
I've cooked a lot of dinners, big dinners for people. Artists, the art world, they love their food too.
Yeah.
But I think architects, you need a lot of food for architects.
Yeah.
I mean, they eat a lot, and if they've been given it, it's all gone.
Yeah.
But
that's so interesting.
it is. I really think they're pretty good eaters. Yeah. I mean, in the amounts.
Yeah.
But the art world, they love their food. These are generalisations.
Oh no, of course. So then, how would you say? What would you say? It's just interesting seeing Fergus, Margot, then Hector's now. He's head chef here now, isn't he? Yeah.
He's head chef.
How's he similar and different? How's he kind of taken from the mix of you guys?
Well, he's battling, isn't he? He's down there battling. Well, he's 30 and he's
same age as me, actually.
Yeah, and I think he's getting going. I mean, he's really into Trinidadian food. He worked in Australia for the Trinidadian chef there. They're doing a dinner this week at Quo which is Trini food, which he's doing with his friend Celeste. But he's very much about British food, produce. He's doing a great job here. But I can see there is a difference. He's really into the whole bringing the butchery. He learned about butchery in Italy, doing butchery there. So he's bringing in the things that he's learnt along the way. And I think he respects his parents. And their ideas.
That's hilarious.
But he also likes really good, like that sort of quite macho meat, sauces, in a burger. He likes all that stuff too. He's quite, he's got a lot of, he's got different things.
Yes, it's interesting seeing almost
I suppose I like things a bit plainer.
Yes.
He likes to sauce it up.
Sauce it up, baby. That's
Which
hilarious.
is quite a thing now, isn't it? I'm not talking about the jus. I'm talking about, your different mayonnaises, your different chili sauces, your different this, and there is fun. It's fun. It's like plain food is, it's still in there just.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just find it crazy how everything evolves so quickly. Oh, one thing I've got to go back to just out of sheer curiosity is you talked about Maori cuisine.
Yeah.
Never heard of that before.
Well, it's not.
What kind of food is that?
Well, it's the foliage. I mean,
as in
leaves and things like that.
Yeah.
It would have been birds back in the day because it was only birds there, and they had proper bird houses to hang all the birds. I mean, but we're not allowed to. They don't eat pigeon or anything in New Zealand. It's all protected. And a pigeon is also a sacred bird in New Zealand. So I did once say to a few old Maori guys, don't you ever wish you could eat a pigeon? Where I live, we eat them all the time.
That's crazy. Why is it protected? This doesn't
they're native birds. They're very beautiful. They're looked after. This bird thing is a bit of a problem, I think, now.
Yeah.
Woodcock. Ooh.
Sorry, what do you mean by that? So, as in...
Eating woodcock, I feel a bit bad now. I think it's my age.
Yeah.
As you get older, as you head towards death, you're thinking, oh,
I should have saved those little woodcock birds.
Yeah, but I do love a woodcock.
Yeah.
They're very yummy.
Oh my God, I am so excited. It feels like Hungary is finally swimming in the big leagues. I can't believe this. It's absolutely mental. But delighted to announce that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, are partnering the podcast. Perry's been on the podcast 3 times. Listeners absolutely love it. Some of our most downloaded and cherished episodes of all time. But Big Fish are behind literally so many brands in your cupboard, in your weekly shop. Charlie Bigham, Year Valley, Tyrrell's, Clipperty, Goo, Rana. I mean, mate, the list is longer than the River Nile. but they also share risk and invest in brands that they really believe are a force for good. That are brands that they believe are going to be the next big thing, like Howder, the snack that gives back. But even more exciting news, Big Fish want to speak to the next wave of small challenger food and drink brands that are destined for big things, the racconteurs, the movers, shakers, buccaneering visionaries. So look, if you want to speak to Big Fish and just have a chat, get your brand in front of them, then drop me a message. My mate Louis from Local Beer, Amazing Beer, was in their office, aka La Fish Bowl, last week, chatting to Perry, Freddie and the Big Fish crew. So drop me a message if you would like to speak to them. Bohemi, our beloved sponsor, are helping build the fastest growing challenger food and drink brands. Look, if you're a small brand just starting out and need your first indie stockist, your first 100 stockists to wholesale, Bohemi are the platform to categorically speed that up. But if you're a big brand wanting to get bigger, Bohemi are also insane. They make field sales marble smooth, silky slick. They're just epic. Ollie's been on this podcast twice actually. They saw a 29% uplift in sales when using Bohemi to check major malt listings availability. Insane. 29% uplift by downloading an app. Insane. Lucky Saint, my boy Aaron Duff, who's coming on this podcast in a couple of weeks, he uses it to manage a team of 30 people, and Lucky Saint have unlocked 500 draft listings by using Bohemi. Look, you've got to get involved with this stuff. It's absolutely insane, and it will categorically change your life. It's just the sickest platform. I use it all the time at Islands.
But it's more about it's all food is looking at what fish you have, what you respond to right here and now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a little bit harder in London, but in a place like New Zealand, it's looking at buying, getting your fish that is locally, your vegetables, but native things as well. So there's a lot of people learning about native foods. I don't know anything about it, but I've been to restaurants there, and they really are going deep into what is growing wild. They're foraging. They're doing all that, and it's exciting. And that is because of, I suppose, Instagram. People are taking ideas, and you can see that they're being influenced, but they're doing their own food, and it's because they have the most amazing oysters, all sorts of things, which maybe in the past we didn't cook so well.
Yeah,
not oysters.
It's interesting. I interviewed
but you can't. There's power, crayfish, all sorts of things, but you can't take much of it. It's very protective. Lots of things are protected.
But I suppose one of the beauties of Instagram is that it is much easier for that as a cuisine, as an idea to spread now. But albeit not because you can't get access to the animals. I want to talk about Bourdain, and I'm obsessed with him. As soon as I read, kind of one of the big inspirations for doing this podcast was when I read Kitchen Confidential. I think he's just a fucking legend, an all-time legend. I know you guys, I think he said St. John was his favourite restaurant in the world.
Best fucking fuck-off fucking restaurant in the whole fucking world.
But I remember watching, I think it was on YouTube, 2001, Bourdain, when he came to, did he do it twice with St. John, I think. Yeah, but one with the old school when he was literally he was on TV, but he was smoking a ciggy, his earring in, much younger. And then I think he did one slightly old, later on with Jay Rayner. Talk to me about the first day you met him. Where was that? What did that feel like, if you can remember?
I can't remember. But he was Fergus's great friend. They got on so well. They were very connected. They just got it straight off. They were he's a very warm, funny, clever, brilliant guy. Very nervous as well.
Really?
Yeah, very nervous. We did a dinner at the Groucho once, and he would be asked a question and he could take it and go, but at the same time his hands were shaking under the table.
Really?
He was quite shy. He was a very sensitive, lovely person. We adored him, and he adored... we went to New York and visited him when he was still cooking in his restaurant. We're all smoking like crazy. And then they brought in the no smoking law, and we're all still smoking. He's taking the fines.
Yeah.
And then it came that you couldn't smoke anymore. It was over.
Yeah.
But then we did all fight it a little bit in the beginning. A bit stupid, really.
Yeah.
But, change is always difficult.
Yeah. Well, especially with his cigarettes. I remember when I went to New York, I went to light up a cigarette because you're not allowed to smoke on the rooftops and you're not allowed to drink outside. So I was like expecting to go out for a pint and a cig, and I was like, well, mate, you can't do this. Because not many people smoke in New York, in America versus here, I don't think.
No. Yeah.
It's which is
a good thing.
It's probably a good thing, but not as fun. So when you said him and Fergus and you guys, you just got it. What do you think it was? Because
I think it's just about an energy, and also it's about restaurants. You speak the same language, you love the same things. It's not complicated. I think it's quite base, like a drink or two, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's got something to do with it. Love a long lunch. He liked a long lunch.
What do you think's better, lunch or dinner? Like in your opinion?
Lunch.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, you've got more possibilities. I'm generally hungrier, and it can go on. It can go on.
Yeah, long.
Harder when you get older. But,
That's a long lunch. Everything's better.
Yeah.
What is it? The first bottle of wine's expensive. I think that's a quote. I think it's the first bottle of wine's expensive, but not as much as the second. Something like that.
Yeah.
But that's so. And then, what do you think? You said he's nervous. What other sides to him do you think people didn't really see versus what was in the book, what was on Hearts Unknown, what was on the layover? Like, what was the other side?
I mean, I didn't know him really personally.
You didn't know him personally. It was more Fergus.
But it was more. I mean, he was a clever, sensitive, beautiful man that we all loved, and we would enjoy his company immensely. And he was fantastic. He's just great company, and we'd talk about restaurants, and food, and and then he then obviously skyrocketed out of this world. But we met on the day he interviewed me here on the day that we voted for Brexit. And I was, because I used to drive a black cab, and I wound down, I'd gone to sleep early and I didn't know what had happened. And I wound down and asked a passing person, so what happened? And he said, we voted for Brexit. I could not believe it. And then I saw Anthony that day, and I told him I was going to this restaurant, and I had to get a train at 12. I even got a motorbike to pick me up. And they're like, Anthony won't get up at that time. I said, well, tell him. I can't believe I said that. I should have put all the stops out. Anyway, he was a darling as always. He's just sort of had it, didn't he? He was so gifted and gorgeous.
He just had the ability to just...
And a brilliant writer.
Such a good writer.
Effortless writing.
I think he talks about a pie in Sydney. And he talks about like it being this volcano, and it's like the gravy's the lava, and it was just the most. It's like literally 3-4 sentences, but it's just so articulate and beautiful. And you look at this pie he's eating in Sydney, you're like, fucking hell, that's just so good. What would you? Maybe this is a hard question, so we don't have to go here. Like you're on the driving seat, but like, what would you, if you were to see him today, or like if he was to come here today, like what would you maybe say to him, or like what would you? Yeah, what would you say to him, do you think?
Let's have lunch.
Yeah.
Fancy some lunch?
Yeah. What would you cook for him, do you think?
What would I cook for him? I think maybe give him a pie. Something soothing and loving. He needs lots of love.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, he needed lots of love.
I listened to a thing about... I don't know whether it was Bourdain or was it Action Bronson, but it was saying Fergus speaks chef. And in terms of like in the kitchen, he can speak chef and like people understand him not through like necessarily verbally. What do you think it means to speak chef? I think it was Action Bronson who said this, and I thought it was really interesting. And then the more I've been thinking about it, is like there is. In terms of humans communicating, is it's not always verbal. Like there's a lot of non-verbal I think most of communication is non-verbal. And I just thought that, again, I always like try to explore things I've never explored before. I thought, that's really interesting. What do you think it means to speak chef without literally speaking?
I just think his strength of his idea, and that you don't question it. You just do. I think, there's no wishy-washy way he speaks about food or the restaurant. It is, and you go with it, and you don't sort of question it. Maybe is what he's talking about. But yes, a strength and a great love of food. I mean, he gets food and what is good and what is bad, and he's the best person to go out to dinner with or lunch.
Long lunches.
But it's just what Fergus did as well. He taught us how to drink. I was a bit like, but it's always about what drink do you have for a different time of the day.
So talk me about what is the right way, because
it depends on, how much you've got in your wallet. But if it could be a bicicletta in the morning or a Pernod in the morning, then you might move on to wine or, learning about light, great wines that slip down at lunchtime. And then afterwards we've got Veerprune, Calvados, that sort of thing. Black Velvet was a great, if you go to Sweetings, a Black Velvet. But I didn't know about those things, and that was quite a new introduction into the Negroni. Fergus, I didn't know about Negronis till I met Fergus. We would have a party, our Christmas party at our house every year. I would spend hours on the telephone calling people up, inviting them, and then hundreds of people would come into our flat in Covent Garden. I'd be on the door, Fergus would be making jugs of Negroni out the back, and then there would be the Negroni roar.
The Negroni roar! Amazing, yeah.
As everyone is sort of shouting.
Yeah.
In our flat. And we'd get rid of the kids for the night. Well, not get rid of them. But
see you later, mate. Negronis are coming to town. Yeah.
And one year, a friend who was having a bit of a few breakdown or something, he got stuck in the bathroom and then broke a hole in the bathroom. I think he'd had a Negroni and maybe he shouldn't have. And the kids came in the next day and they said, must have been a good party.
Yes, that's amazing.
But they were great parties, and these jugs. And so Fergus is Punta Mess, Campari and gin, equal parts. It's quite a strong one. But it's the ice. It's so important about the ice.
Why is the ice so important?
Because then you get a little bit dilution. I love it. I like it when it melts all the way down and it's all quite watery. The different stages of it, of a Negroni.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought of that.
I love all the different stages. Sometimes it can last quite a long time. If you've got
but it's like you want it when you've had a stressful day. Like you want that strong hit to sort of give you. It's almost like a sloppy kiss to say, look, it's going to chill the fuck out. But then as you get onto your second one, you want it to be a bit diluted because I'm feeling a bit wavy now. Yeah. I'm like, well, yeah. Then, but I hadn't even thought of that. The ice the ice is in.
That's what's great about those blocks as well.
The big ones,
we don't have, but it's that sort of as it melts and all sorts of things happen. The magic of a Negroni.
Yeah, there really is a magic to it. Yeah, I hadn't even. Yeah, I was smashing them in Lisbon, but you've done like 8 days on the bit. I've been drinking for like 8 days straight, so my tolerance was through the roof. But I was just like, it was sort of going back like cowpole. Do you know what I mean? But then I was waking up the next day going.
A watery gin and tonic is not a great thing.
No, it's the opposite.
But a watery Negroni, if you've started with it strong, is actually quite an interesting flavoursome thing.
Yeah, it kind of flows in with you. Yeah, moves with you. Yeah, it's like dancing. With your mood. You, in terms of like what you said, Fergus and you both kind of go out to restaurants all the time. Like, what is that isn't your own? Like, what are some of the restaurants that you just
love?
Just absolutely, love. Like, what is about them that's so lovable? Do you know what I mean?
Well, Ikeda is Japanese, which we absolutely love, and we've been going all our lives with our kids. Kiln, we love, absolutely love.
What do you love about those? Like, what is it? Because there's a gazillion different.
Well, Ikeda is family-run restaurant. It's always the same. The chefs have been there for years. The guy who makes the sushi, he has been there since 30 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he's there every time we go in. We all say hello.
We're back. Yeah.
We're going for my daughter's birthday this week. There's a great beauty to it. It's really clean. It's amazing fish. The temperature of the rice, the temperature of the fish, the way they meet. There's a gentleness. It's a great restaurant. I love the way it looks as well. It's quite sort of, you're in a sort of, it's not groovy. It's lovely. It's really beautiful. The bar, the chefs are there. Their pots are all beautifully clean. I wish I cooked like them.
Yeah.
They're amazing, and great sake. And Ken is lovely. Had been his dad had been the sushi chef, but who made the sushi. He had died many years ago, and then his mother ran it, and now he runs it. It's been there a long time. It's got that history.
Where else is it?
In Brook Street, along from Claridge's. So you can pop into Claridge's for a glass.
Or a Negroni.
And then you can go into Akeda for really, it's unexpected as well. It's interesting to have places like that still in London. I love the feeling of history in it as well. Where else do we go? Royal China. We've always gone to Royal China. I love the Royal China. I love its chaos, and I love Chinese food, Cantonese food. We have got a new Sichuan restaurant in Camberwell. It's called, South Lambeth Sichuan.
That's what it says on the tin. Yeah, I love those places, yeah.
And it's really good. Don't have the dumplings, they're not so great. But all the brothy things, and it's spicy, but it's not. I'm not that great at really strong spice. It's really good. I think it feels real. It feels quite traditional.
I love that word, feels real. My mate, out in Banstead, which is towards Epsom, he went to a curry house the other day. So it was it's one of the best curries he's had in a long time. Those proper old tours. Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, what's it called?" He goes, "Curry Centre," and I just love that. It's just this is this is the curry centre. You come here.
We always have whitebait when we not whitebait, jellyfish when we go to a Chinese restaurant, just to show them that we're real. We know what we're doing.
Really, I've never had jellyfish.
It's good. Jellyfish is great.
Really,
it's yummy. Good texture.
Really,
generally cold with a chili cucumber sauce.
Yeah. Maybe I need to do
Bit of sesame in it. You can buy jellyfish in the Asian supermarkets.
Yeah. That's
and
weird.
And you slice it up. It's good.
Really, that's so
It's
interesting.
just we know what we're doing. They always look at you like, no, we know.
What are the so we've talked about gentle hospitality, and I'd love to kind of go through. I was listening to an interview with Robert Downey Jr., the actor who's he's in all sorts. And later, one of the questions was what are the different types of director you work with?
Yeah.
And he went through a few, and I thought that was a really interesting kind of lens, and I want to kind of talk to you about this, Margot, in terms of, I think we talked about gentle hospitality is one way of, or one strain of hospitality.
Yeah.
What are the sort of the other types you think that are kind of,
It's hard because, there's obviously fine dining, isn't it? And they are, it's just incredible what they do. There's all sorts of different ways of, running businesses. I suppose rollouts is a different type of hospitality, isn't it? Chains.
What are your thoughts on that?
Chains, I would, there's a place for it. It's called money. Bung.
Yeah.
It's obvious. But, it's hard for them to maintain
magic.
The magic.
Scale kills magic.
Yeah,
someone said that to me, and I.
And what is a chain? It's how many links you've got.
Yeah.
Is it linking up?
Also, is it a chain to the magic? Is it something that literally chains to your ankle? There's a bit airy-fairy, sorry.
Yeah.
But is it something that changes you from, you may get size, but you may change your magic and shackles your magic, potentially?
There's a lot in London.
Yeah.
And most are not great. But some are good.
But it's tricky as well in terms of...
look at Gales. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, God, yeah.
They've got 100.
Yeah.
They've opened in South Lambeth Road, and I was like, I'm going to Gales. But I go in there, the staff are incredible, amazing. They've got it all trimmed down. They know exactly what they're doing. It's not too airy fairy like that. They're not. It doesn't have that feeling like we're just pleasing the masses. It's distinctive. Great coffee.
I do a bit of consultancy work for a chocolate brand called I don't know if you've ever heard of Islands Chocolate. So we are their hot chocolate in Gales. Yeah. I'll send you some. It's absolutely delicious. But their head of what I love about Gales is each one's so unique. So like the one in Peckham is like all pink, like neon fucking lights. Yeah, like it's it's super quirky. Yeah, but then the one in I don't know, like there's one in Isha, like which is just the complete antithesis to this, but they're still the same business. They all feel very different.
Caravan has that.
Oh yeah,
Caravan has that feeling of, you're going into an individual restaurant. But say St. John rolled out, you wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. There would be a distinctive feeling, wouldn't it? They couldn't change it to pink to that.
Yeah.
But
because how many sites is St. John at now?
They've got three.
Marylebone, Farringdon, Spitalfields. Yeah.
And the bakery. And they have the bakery.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And the wine.
And yeah. The one thing I want to ask you about is kind of palate. This is a bit of a random one.
Okay.
Sorry, Margot. I just have a lot of. I'm so
My
curious.
palate.
No, not your palate specifically, but like a lot of people say they've got someone's got a very good palate, or like has the ability to.
Oh yeah.
Like.
Taste all sorts of different things.
Yeah, but like put a vegetable in their mouth and like understand how they're gonna make something out of it. Like how much of that can be learnt versus like intuition. So like, say X number of vegetables come in today, right? And we're trying to cook something. Like, what is I'm trying to understand the process of how you like use your palate. Maybe start with.
I'm much more instinctive. More instinctive, and the way it looks. I can tell if something's going to be tasty sometimes by the way it looks.
Interesting.
But, especially with vegetables. Vegetables are quite easy. You want freshness. My palate is average, really is, because I've smoked too much. But
that's what I'm saying. Is it this?
I do know what is good and what is not good.
Yeah,
but I'm not. But also, like we went to Paradise yesterday, they had all sorts of different flavour things going on, and we could sense them and love them. And the room was quite dark, and the noise was really noisy. But it was interesting. I felt like you were in a bit of a hole with your food. You're sort of really, the food was really exciting and amazing. But it's, you want to know, so you have a courgette and you're looking at the...
I find creative process as a whether it's Bourdain writing a piece, whether I always think, why did, maybe Bourdain in terms of film and TV is a good example. It's like, he was sometimes, I think it's the one when in the episode in Lisbon when they're slaughtering the pig, and he has that really melodic kind of intense, almost like opera music. It's like, I'm like, why has he picked that? Do you know what I mean? And what I'm trying to suppose is when you create a plate of food, is like, how does your brain work in terms of, okay, this is why this is a Rochelle dish.
Sometimes it's because of what's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're planning the menu and you're thinking what you want in it, but we're often just using up things that we've got. So we've got all these vegetables come, and we're deciding what will go well with this. We're more instinctive, intuitive, but then you will have something fermented, or there'll be some chili or different vinegars that we're using. Obviously, seasoning with our food, because it's so simple, it's crucial. So you're always trying to get everyone, seasoning, just how we use salt. That's a major thing.
What did most people get kind of wrong with the seasoning side of things?
Not enough.
Not enough,
yeah.
Interesting.
Not too much, actually, because chefs used to traditionally always be putting too much in. There was a real, because they say they get used to the salt, so they add more and more. But I'd say with us, it can be too little.
Interesting.
But it's, we always have salt and pepper on the table as well. So that's...
Yeah, gentle empathy.
Yeah. Because, and It's great not to have the salt and pepper, but I was in a restaurant a while ago and there was no salt and pepper on the table and it really, really needed it. And you're like, well, I'm sorry, guys. You haven't quite got this right.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have problem solved if we'd just gone like that.
Yeah.
But, our service is very hard and, there's 2 people doing it. Sometimes, people forget.
Yeah.
But the salt and pepper's on the table.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're looking at more. We're pickling more, we're fermenting more, we're doing more of that sort of thing. So we're trying to get different depths of flavours and things in there.
Hi guys, super quick one. So excited. Look, for years I've been badgering on about Hungry the podcast. You're probably bored to death. Thanks for putting up with me. But Hungry is also an agency, and we look after one amazing brand called Islands Chocolate. We've had a great time over the year. We've won listings at a load of wholesalers. We've won Milk and More. We've got our first grocery listing coming very soon, which is very sick. But what I'm thrilled to announce is Hungry is merging with HC Consulting. My boy Harry Clark and his wonderful team, he's an absolute G. They do brand strategy, new business and account management. But why I really love working with Harry and why we've got on so well over the last couple of months is Harry was actually the founder of the boozy isolate brand Pops. So he's been in the trenches, he's grafted his face off, he's had the sleepless nights, he's had the turmoil, he's had the triumph, he knows what it is to be a founder, he is a founder. And he's got a proven track record in grocery and out of home. Holy moly dips, the gut stuff, Savile drinks, Remio gelato. So if you're a brand and you're stuck, you're looking for like new business help, you're looking to scale, drop us a message, we'd love to chat. Thank you so much. Back to the old episode.
Because there's no music here. And I think the feeling of the courtyard is really like interesting. What's the thought process in the way those elements work?
Well, we're not loud music.
Okay.
Because we're in it. Because this is all council flats. People live here.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of an estate, and these people also are working here. So we're not loud music.
But but then it creates a totally unique.
But we wouldn't want music anyway.
Yeah.
It just would be wrong.
Yeah.
I think we have music in the pub. So I've got a pub, the Three Horseshoes, in Somerset now, and it's really exciting. But it can be quite quiet, and people are whispering.
What kind of music do you play? Like, what would you?
David Bowie.
Yes. I love Bowie.
Joan Armatrading. She's lovely in the background. Jazz, we're playing, classics. I feel older music works better, but, I'm not there all the time. But yeah, it's just, it fills a gap. Fergus is still against it, but I said it makes people stay a bit longer.
Especially if you're having a boozy lunch.
Or they've come in for a pint and there's 5 other people there and it's quite quiet. Sometimes the quietness can feel a bit oppressive.
No, I find it so fascinating.
Whereas quiet at St. John is nothing. It's not quiet.
Yeah.
It's just not quiet. It's not that sort of oppressive quietness. And sometimes that can be a bit like, and everyone's whispering.
It's the raw. Yeah, there's a raucous roar when you walk in St. John. I think there's a
even
raucous,
when there's no one there.
Yeah. Whereas here it feels like serenity, like in a really
Exactly.
it's like
are much more serene.
It's just like a wall. Super serene. But then when you've got your pub now, so how's that? Like, how have you found that running this and the pub down in Somerset? Like how?
Well, I'm not running it. They're running it. They're all amazing. The guys there are brilliant. Really good team. Nye Smith is the head chef. He's brilliant. He worked at St. John at the hotel, and Morrow and Koya. He actually was at Koya when Hector started there. Hector was making dashi in the basement at Koya. It was his first cooking job. I don't think he was very happy. He said, "One day, Hector, this will be your greatest moment."
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But anyway, Nye is a very beautiful chef. He's just incredible, and he suits it all. We're getting, we're 5-minute walk from Westcombe. No, actually, 15-minute walk from Westcombe Dairy. The whole area, Somerset, they're all producing great product. I mean, meat, veg, cheese, The whole place is, you just wouldn't be able to know all the suppliers down there. It really is incredible. And Josh is the general manager. He's great. It's great. It's just, it's quiet sometimes in the beginning of the week. You know, you're driving down the lanes, you don't pass anyone.
Yeah.
At the weekends, it's packed.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
can
it's,
imagine.
yeah. But it's great. We're really loving it. Changing menu, lot of classic, you know, British cooking, a lot of influence of Fergus and me. It's great. We're really enjoying it.
There's a few more things I want to explore, you, Mo. I'm absolutely loving this, and it's just so. I just love being able to see the kind of all the texture behind the scenes of. You know, I had a meal here, but it's understanding everything.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about is you talked right at the beginning. There's some dark days, and I think a lot of people who listen to these podcasts message me saying, "Look, I heard from X that they went through some hard times, and it just made everything so much, made that day lighter, right?"
Aww.
And I think, as you said, you've had this long, beautiful career, both you and Fergus, and now Hector, which is amazing. But I'd love to know what have been some of the really hard, dark days.
When chefs hand their notice.
Let's talk about that then. Let's talk about that.
When James Ferguson handed his notice in, I literally had a breakdown. No, I used to have, it was so upsetting. You're so much of a team together, and then somebody hands their notice in, and you just think, how am I going to get out of this? What's going to happen? How am I going to... Because it's not rigid, like, here's the recipe, cook it. It's hard to teach people what you're doing, how to make it work. And also, I've cooked, we've had so many great chefs here. I mean, really amazing people. Anna Tobias, she just was so fantastic. I loved her food. And then you're going to miss their food as well. And they make you look so good. And you think, how am I going to get back to this? But you do. And I'm better about it now, actually. I'm not.
How
I think in my old age, I'm getting better about it.
How do you get it back? Like
time, you know, talking, sitting down. I mean, sometimes it's better to hire within. So they've already got. We've had quite a few chefs who come from St. John, which is helpful. I mean, also, we don't generally get chefs that don't like the food or what we're trying to do.
Yeah, otherwise, fuck off, mate. Imagine that, yeah.
I mean, it would be crazy if you wanted to come in and... But there has to be a sense of what they want to bring and what we do, because people will leave, and so we need to have continuum, and we need to be going. Dark times is when you're quiet. You're like,
what do you
what are we going to do?
Yes, so I interviewed I don't know if you've ever had a Black Bear burger. Really good burgers.
No, I love it. Where?
Oh my god, this will change your life, Margot. Like, I think that they did. I remember getting it in Brixton. They've got one. They started in Broadway Market.
Yeah.
They've now got one in Exmouth Market, right by Caravan. One in Brixton.
Oh, I'll go to the one in Brixton. Could do with the burger now.
Oh, I'm going to smash some food after this, honestly. I'm going to be turned into I might see there's a table downstairs. I'm going to smash out a load of munch. But he was basically saying, Stu was saying to me, he goes, the graft of the street food is just a slog. He goes, we'd set everything up, it was pissing down with rain, and we were just thinking, why are we doing this? We can't get punters through the door. There will be people listening to that who are going through that moment right now. They've got a restaurant, or they've got a brand, or they've got...
Yeah.
And no one's coming. No one's coming. I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
I hate walking past restaurants when there's not many people. I feel for them. My whole body.
Yes.
Like,
empathy. Yes.
I feel for you.
But what would you say to people who are going through that? And then first question, and then second question: was there ever a moment in time where, like, this was quiet, and like, how did you drum up people to ring the buzzer?
Yeah, no, I mean, Rochelle has definitely been quiet, and we've built it up over the years. In the winter, it could be really quiet because we didn't have the tent or that sort of thing. But we were always trying to drum up. I mean, that's back to multitasking, trying to do different things. We would also bring a lot of friends. Friends are supportive, and then they go and talk about it. So we've given away a lot. I mean, in the early days of St. John, our friends were incredibly supportive, and we have friends in the art world. They've always supported us and had big parties. So buyouts are great. They can really help with your takes in a month. So we need a bit of both, but you need to not have too many of them because then you're not open enough. Also, I never mind people calling. We're in a service industry, so I don't mind friends calling saying, can you get me tape? I think all that sort of thing, you're always trying to help the staff. You just want bums on seats sometimes. If you're quiet, you want bums on seats because you want trying to create an atmosphere, aren't you? And that atmosphere can bring people, like when we're struggling to get chefs, as we are at the moment, and especially in Somerset, I just feel we need to be doing anything. Somehow it's a bit like noise, and maybe there'll be some little filter. Yeah. It's a bit like you're being in the bathroom the other day and then it was on, but you're trying somehow to get some word out, and we're here and what we're doing. I always love, giving lots of love to your food, to your everything helps people come.
Oh, that's such a beautiful, like what you've said there is actually so profound in terms of, when you give a lot of love,
maybe you'll get it back. Well, you're trying to.
No, but I think people can make it to let's go and stand. I'm not saying you have to do this here, but say it is a burger restaurant or a street food fan. It's like, let's go and give out some flyers to the nearest office, and it's it's like quite tactical shit, which is fine, which probably does work. But actually, I'm not saying you never have to do this for here. I'm just more kind of being empathetic towards people listening. Yeah, it's like if you put more love into it, it can go back.
Don't paint it black.
Yeah. Unless that's the Rolling Stones song, which is an absolute banging.
Oh, right. Tune. I really don't like black restaurants. A whole of Old Compton Street is just all these black restaurants.
Why do you think... What?
It's like a dark hole.
Yeah.
Can't we just
come like you're in a nightclub?
I don't know. They're all sort of badly... Old Compton Street is particularly dire at the moment. And it's just... it's sort of weird restaurants with black tablecloths. They're sort of... a black tablecloth is a no-no for me. Do you like Indian food? Like, what's some of the best Indian restaurants you've been to in London? Gunpowder. Is that Indian?
Gunpowder.
Sri Lankan.
Yeah, well, that's because Paradise is Sri Lankan, isn't it?
Yeah. I love Indian food. I just can't think of one right now. Oh, God, yeah. But, it's no food I don't like.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you, and I try and push myself to ask some hard questions, but, you're completely in the driving seat, so tell me to fuck off. I happily will. But I'd love to know, so Fergus got diagnosed with Parkinson's in, I think it was the late 90s. How's that affected your relationship and affected you? So I think everyone's got hard things they have to go through, and I think, but you don't have to talk about it. It's up to you.
Well, so Parkinson's is, it's bad luck. We've been through a lot. He had an amazing operation where he has wires in his brain. It's called DBS, deep brain stimulation, which changed our life, actually, because he was moving non-stop. And he's really thin. But anyway, he got these wires and it really calmed him down. So that changed that. Now, as he's got older, his speech is really bad. He can't speak. But, he's very much still there. I miss him. Because Fergus would wake up in the morning and say, what are we doing for lunch? And he doesn't quite think like that anymore. So it's been, it's a struggle. It's definitely a struggle. And he's not getting better. But... love is back to love. Love is an incredible thing because we love each other, and so we're very, we're there. We're with each other. I just wish we could do more together because, but we have to go calmly. But that's probably quite a good thing for me as well. Because otherwise, I sometimes think if he was really well, my God, Margot, what would you be like?
So when you first met back in the 90s, was he sort of like bang out of bed, like trying to do a gazillion things at once, and you were kind of, what was...
No, he just, he's always got an opinion. And he's thinking, first thing was, what's for lunch? Every day he's just thinking, what's for lunch? Whether we're cooking it or, we're going out for lunch. So he's not, he's a bit weaker these days. He's definitely weaker. He's had Parkinson's for a long time. And it's a debilitating, boring disease, but you don't die from it. Well, not at the moment. Yeah. So we're blessed. We're lucky as well. I'm not complaining, but it is boring.
Well, yeah, but I love
boring for him.
You seem so, and I love your positivity, because I think everyone listening to this will be going through something, and it can be, you can either complain about, not saying it is easy.
He's never complained once.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't complain.
Interesting.
I can have a whinge.
Yeah.
I can definitely have a good old whinge. I'm not going to do it right here.
Yeah, of course.
But he never complains. He's strong as an ox, that guy. And I don't think he knows how to complain. But I once, I was complaining. He said, he did once say to me, think how it feels for me, darling. He is, it's hard. And, because we all want to be strong when we're old, and he is definitely weaker. But, he loves his restaurant, but he doesn't work there at all, really. But he talks to his chefs, and he has relationships with them. And he loves it. It's his baby. It's his life's work, St. John. And, we were, not that I did anything to do with it, but I was very much supportive with our friendships, all the people we met through it, the art world, all the things that happen with St. John. It wasn't just a restaurant. It's, it's our life. Our children grew up in there, running around every weekend as we're all having big messy lunches. My proudest day of my children is when they're all sitting in front of me, sucking the head of a langouste. I'm like, yes, darlings. I should. Now they like eating too much, probably.
Oh no, but there's who was it? I interviewed a guy called Rory. His name's Rory Sutherland. He's like a big advertising executive guy, Ogilvy. But we get on because we both just love talking about restaurants and food. But he's a really interesting guy. But he was saying that he once did his best thing he's ever eaten of all time was St. John did. He had a Guinness and a
Welsh rabbit?
Like it's what they. Sorry, my mind's going.
It's long this.
Yeah, we'll wrap up in a sec. The what they called when the names escape me, but it's like a goose scratching is what he said.
Ooh, that's
he said,
good.
yeah. So that was it, a goose scratching, and he said that was that. But yeah, I think the final thing we'll touch upon, then let's wrap this up, is just this art thing. Because again, there's synonymous. I think it was at your time at in all your restaurants, like there's been like a link to art. Like, what are some of the most interesting artists you've ever kind of met, and what have they taught you?
Great artists: Sarah Lucas, Gary Hume, Matthew Barney. Kai Altoff. Lots of great artists, great friends, built great friendships. They love going out. They love eating. Generous of spirit. And also, I think the art world let us be ourselves and understood it. They always understood St. John, where sometimes, like you said, what was, St. John was a bit tricky. Well, it's hard to that writing, the simplicity of it, whereas the art world just got it. They had no problem. And we all sort of grew up together with that group back then in the 90s. We had some wild times. A lot of feasting and eating, because also the art world they're always celebrating another exhibition. So Sadie Cole's gallery would have a lot of events with us, with catering as well as in St. John and at Rochelle, because they're always celebrating another artist show. So there's there's a lot going on.
I think what you said there about like they just got it and accepted it straight away, because I think you were doing something so unique from such a new angle, both of you guys.
And they weren't scared of it. They weren't scared. Because they're all so confident.
Why do you think artists are so confident?
Because they've had to spend all this time thinking about the reason why, or what the idea is. You know, they make some squiggle and they have to have a sense of what that is.
They're probably like the best salesmen in the world.
And generally, they're all pretty clever, the successful ones. They're pretty smart people. Well, they are really smart. They're brilliant. I mean, I love artists. They're just such a great... They're about the world... And all the people that flow with it as well. I mean, artists, they're ones that do it. Then the people who build the galleries, the people who run, you know, the Tate, all these places. They're all looking at our culture and who we are and what we're doing. And places like St. John and Rochelle have been, you know, cultural institutions within Britain. And, you know, that's what they're always looking at, aren't they? They are looking at what is... culture for us here now, and they're generous spirited, fun loving people.
Let's wrap that up there, because I think it ties in perfectly. But I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much for being so generous.
You're very sweet.
I think it's just this. Yeah, I've just add a lot more texture to two restaurants I've revered for so long, and I think many people have revered. It's just good to understand the depth behind it.
I hope it's okay.
Oh, it's brilliant. Let's wrap that up.